you developed, a methodology, and then you're teaching that to your agents that come on board. And it's probably never been a better time to recruit in the world. Last week alone, 3.2 million people filed for unemployment. There's people out there looking for opportunity. They're looking for a vehicle like North Star. They're looking for a system and structure. So let's go back to the day when you first started selling and talk about the methodology you used and how it's morphed into telesales now. But did you start there, or did you start selling door to door? And talk about the methodology you used, the philosophy you used to sell early on.
Well, first and foremost, I'm in a very unique position, and I'm going to give hope to a whole bunch of people here. Yep. I was not good. I was terrible. And I wasn't this, my brothers, and Coach, my brothers, both of them, they both have the gift of gab. They're great talkers. They're instant connectors. Mm-hmm. And then there was me. And I'm like, man, just put me in the weight room and leave me alone. And so I was the introvert. They were the extroverts. And in a lot of ways, I was kind of jealous of that because they knew how to build instant connection. Ramiz knew. He was a popular kid in school, and he just knew how to make friends everywhere that he went. And I didn't know how to do that. It was very uncomfortable for me. Yep. So when I first got into sales, I did it because, first of all, and not to go into this long background story, it's when you're poor, you're willing to do whatever you got to do to get out of it. And what I had to do to get out of it was learn how to sell. And again, I stepped out of my comfort zone. I did it, and I sucked at it. And I learned how to get past it by really studying certain techniques and tactics to learn how to influence people to take them from point A all the way down to the end of the presentation. And so I share this, Coach, because regardless if you're a person, I don't believe great salespeople were born the way that they were born. I believe great salespeople are created through routine, through repetition, through training, through practicing, and just understanding what it takes to get a person to make a decision.
Now let's talk about that because I really like what you're saying. There's a lot of people out there who say they're not natural salespeople, right? They don't have that connectivity like you talk about. And when I'm teaching the steps to the sale, this is actually what I was teaching in Monster Producer this past month, was that selling begins by initiating. It begins by initiating, right? A conversation with you. It's got to start. Something's got to start. Nothing happens until something is started. Nothing happens until something is sold. So I teach people we initiate, we disarm, or build connection, right? We build some type of connection. Some people may call it rapport building. And I know that's a big part of your process. And then I say we locate a significant problem. We locate a problem. And then we offer a compelling solution. So that's a simple way to say, here's steps to the sale. Talk about how you believe people should initiate. And there's at home, let's say they don't have that manager coach them. They don't have that person motivate them. They don't have the pump up where they get to see Tony or Jonathan or Ramiz or Aaron in the morning. Talk about that person who's sitting at home every day going, dang, this is hard, man. I got to get my mind ready for this, right?
Absolutely. Well, listen, it starts with three things. You ask yourself, it starts with one thing, three questions. Every day before you get started, you ask yourself three questions. And I got this from my late friend, Vince Pompanato. He taught me this, and I still use it to this day. How do I feel today? How do I look today? And how do I sound today? Yeah. And that's your test right there. If you don't feel good, you don't look good, you don't sound good, you're not ready. You're not prepared to get in the game. You're still sitting on the bench.
Right.
You got to be able, just because you work from home does not mean you don't shower in the morning.
Right. That's
just
right.
Because you don't got a 30-minute commute that you got to drive to the office doesn't mean that you're going to sleep in for extra 30 minutes. That's not your reason to slack off. That would, if anything, should give you more time to be productive throughout your day. You have to understand that. And the biggest reason, Coach, that most people fall short is they take the fact that they're at home and they give themselves permission that it creates laziness. It doesn't create laziness. You just got to do a little bit more. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. You got to get in that mentality, right? And then you got to understand that there comes a time where it's showtime. Lights are on. You're the actor. You got to play the role, and you got to have I can't see you, Coach, with a smile on to say, hey, Coach, how you doing? That's not a lot of energy, but because I have that smile, that hand motion, it comes across with energy. But over the phone, they don't see that. Right. And so you got to have, You got to have an exaggerated form of energy that's so attractive that the person on the other end of the phone is saying, I'm going to listen to this person because they're just fun to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is.
I know.
And that's the first thing you got to do is, how do you say good morning because it matters?
Yeah, it's kind of like the concept is, studies show if you make a bad first impression, it takes 21 positive interactions to overcome the first negative one, right?
Absolutely.
But you're not going to get 21 chances. I mean, nobody's going to stick around 21 times, especially if you're selling on the phone. And I tell people to use the assets you have. I use my personality. I smile. I say, Tony, where are you located today? Well, I'm in St. Louis. What's the weather in St. Louis today, Tony? Because it's finally 75 degrees in Tennessee and pretty, and I just start building rapport quickly with people through energy. But that's what I do when I'm in person too. And that's what people don't understand. If your vocal tonality is low, if you don't have any enthusiasm, if you don't have any vim and vigor, if you don't seem like a person you want to talk to, then people are like, oh goodness, here we go. Like we've already made a decision.
But when you're doing that strategically. You're doing that with the purpose of building rapport, building a connection, so you can influence this person to a decision. What a lot of salespeople don't realize that they do is they still do that same thing, but what they're actually doing is they're just procrastinating to get into their sales process. Like, don't talk for the sake of talking. That's right. Like, that's not relevant. If you're rapport is not built through small talk. Yeah. Rapport is done through some kind of common ground that allows you to build a deep-rooted connection that allows you to gain influence in their life. And so we do the same thing. One of the things that we always say is, hey, you break the ice is by telling someone, wow, coach, I see that you're out there in Tennessee. That's a beautiful part of the country. How long have you been living in Nashville for? Yeah. Or Murfreesboro for? That's right. And then now they say, oh, for 5 years. And then now that's the gateway to start getting into much deeper, more intimate conversations that are more relevant to whatever it is that we sell. Now, we sell life insurance. Life insurance you buy because of your family. That's my road or my path that I'm going to take to start talking about family.
I coached one of the top leaders, or worked with one of the top leaders of a multi-level marketing company named Zija. And every time he would call me, this is when you know him. He every time I would answer, he said, "Is this the legend, Coach Michael Burt? Is this the 14-time author?" And no matter how he said it, I always smiled. Like it always made me smile. Just the way he started the conversation. So this is important, okay? And I think for people that are selling at home, Tony has given us some things. Number one, you don't need to break a routine. You need to get up. You need to get showered, right? You need to get yourself in a routine. You're going to work, guys. You're going to work. It's not a permission to have a distraction. And we talk about this a lot, is that if you're making if it takes you an hour to sell during the day, if your sales cycle is an hour with the person and you waste 2 hours in a day, let's say you lost one sale. If you lost one sale a day, you lost 5 sales in a week. You lose 5 sales in a week, you lost 20 sales in a month. You've cost yourself 240 sales.
Absolutely right.
Now, do the commission on time lost on low value activity versus high value activity. And high value activity is money generating activity. And if you're selling on the phone, you got to hit the phone. Now, let's talk about mindset a little bit and what you do, Tony, because I had a trainer once that was a Marine, and I would show up in the morning at 5 a.m. to work out, and he would walk in, and he is a group of guys, and he loved calling us ladies. He would say, "Good morning, ladies." he would say, the first thing you got to know is you got to get your mind ready for what your body's about to do, because our body didn't want to do it. Nobody wakes up and says, "I can't wait to make 80 phone calls." Right. Or 100 phone calls, right? Or make that many dials. It's like there's a process, like game time, baby. Get your mind ready for what your body's about to do. And I've never forgotten that. And when I get ready to attack something like calling, I'm like, all right, man, it's showtime. What do you do to get your mind ready? What would you tell the agents, the people at home selling? Do you listen to something? Like, I work out in the morning. After a good workout, man, I'm ready to tackle the world, right? I've got my body. I've listened to something. I listen to something spiritual. Then I listen to something business. Sometimes it takes 1 minute to listen to something. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
But look what you recommend? Coach. You said you work out. Yep. You listen to something spiritual, a sermon, a Bible, something. Then you listen to something knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. This goes back down to your whole person theory. What Stephen Covey said about in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective, the whole person theory. Yep. I believe that we are composed, and Coach, I know you and I align up very similar with this. I believe that we're composed in 4 segments, the 4 that you talk about, that Stephen Covey talks about, and each one makes up 25% of your life. And so if you are a person that's really struggling in your spiritual life, but you're really good in everywhere else in your life, you can only occupy yourself at a max capacity of 75% because you're missing out 25% of your life. So I'm a firm believer that you have to be able every day to work out all 4 aspects of your life. You have to listen to something spiritual that ignites that spirit inside of you. You have to give yourself something that's knowledgeable, that's tangible, that you can use today when you're on the phones or working with clients or customers. You have to do something for your body. You have to work out. And when you do those things, you start building more confidence in your abilities. And as you build that confidence, that completes that 4th part of your whole person.
Yep. And now you're ready, because we really can't talk about, like, you're not ready to attack if you're not clicking on all cylinders, right?
But Coach, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing that I think a lot of people get real confused about. You don't have to work out for an hour in the morning. You can work out for 20 minutes.
Right.
You don't have to read a whole book in one sitting. You can read 3 or 4 pages.
Right.
You don't have to. Part of my spirit, the way I ignite my spirit, my spiritual life, is sometimes it's just praise and worship music.
Right.
Closing my eyes, sitting there, letting it play, and just singing along to the lyrics with it. And that's what it is for me to connect with God in that moment.
Right. That's right. It's just an activator. You know, when you hear me talk about Pray Drive, it's an activator, right? And sometimes that activator is by listening to something, watching something. But I'm a big believer you need routine. You need a hard schedule. You need to stick to that schedule. You need to make the number of calls you need to make, because there's a percentage here, right? And in your industry, what's the percentage of people? You're in the insurance industry. Right now is a great time to be in the industry you're in. You're selling a product that's in high demand. You know, what is a percentage? What is a successful percentage a person should be thinking if they're selling from home on the phone on a close ratio? In your mind, I'm talking like if people are home selling, you say, man, you're hitting it if you're hitting this close ratio.
If you can do on a we train 1 call closes, and we can go more into that a little bit later, but on a 1 call close, if you can close between 25 to 33%, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 on a 1 call close, you're doing a fantastic job on the phone. As that number starts to decrease, that really shows you where your level of influence is with your customers and what strategies that you're doing that's working or not working and have to reevaluate.
Right. Right. And how many hours a day do you think people should be spent on the phone doing nothing but prospecting from your perspective?
Well, and Coach, you know this, we practice responsibility rationing. So as salespeople, if you are prospecting, I believe that you are doing a job of someone that you can hire for $10 an hour. But that's a whole different conversation.
Well, let's open that up. Let's open that door.
Okay, let's go down that road. Okay.
Because I think this is important for people. You know, at North Star, they believe in responsibility rationing of responsibility, which means there's somebody calling to qualify the prospect.
Yes.
Right? There's somebody opening the door. There's somebody, then okay, I call and open the door, and then I hand them off to Tony, and Tony's the person that's going to close the deal, right?
Absolutely.
And just so everybody understands that may not be familiar with North Star, their company is divided up between this responsibility rationing part. There's a marketing side, there's a sales side, there's a
conservation side to conserve the business.
Conservation side to keep the deal, and it's divided up so that everybody's got a role here. I agree with this. Okay, so in your world, people are calling, qualifying, passing on, right?
Yes.
And then the salesperson is talking about, do you consider those people closers, salespeople? Do you consider the marketing people salespeople and one group closers? I mean, how would you qualify?
We call our agents, our licensed agents, we just call them sales. Our fronters are pre-closers. That's what we call them. They start the conversation. They warm the prospect up. We train them on how to build quick, instant rapport, make the customer feel really warm and fuzzy, instant connection. Spend about 7 or so minutes on the phone with this client. Do a warm handoff to the salesperson, and the salesperson picks up that conversation. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and again, this is a really important technique for salespeople to realize this. One of the biggest factors that separates a top producer from an average producer is simply the way of the transfer of energy from when the marketer, the pre-closer, hands that call off. Right. The pre-closer builds all this excitement and tells Coach how awesome he is, how great he is, how much he loves his family. And then they introduce the agent. The agent's like, oh, hey, this is Tony. How can I help you? Like, man, you've just ruined everything this person just did for you.
That's right.
You have to continue that energy. So important.
All right. So walk through the steps of the sales cycle. If you want to share your steps, when a person gets on the phone, I have my steps, right? I initiate, I disarm. I'm certified in the DISC, so I actually use different techniques depending on the personality style of the person, right? Like you're a high D, I recognize that you're a similar personality as me, so there's less rapport building with the guy like you because you want to get straight to it, right? If you study the DISC profile, it shows you how to give information to a high D. Succinct, options, to the point. There's less fluff, right? So Tony wants to know, how's it going to get results? How's this going to help me? How's this going to make me money? How's this going to save me money, right? So I do some rapport building, but then I get right into it, right? Like I'm locating a problem. And then I'm going to offer Tony a compelling solution based on his personality style. That's how I do it. Now, talk to the people about what your steps are.
Yeah, well, we start off with just an introduction. We call it who I am and what I do. And this is where you got to position yourself. The first thing you got to do when you answer the phone with a lot of energy, you then take the customer through this roller coaster of an experience. And the second part of the roller coaster is positioning yourself as an authoritative figure. You got to position yourself as a subject matter expert, someone that's sharp as a tack, and someone that's going to offer them a solution to what their problem is. Now, people don't want to work with duds. This is your part to show them that you're not a dud. So this is about a 2-minute intro. It's very quick, but it's really just an overview of what we're going to discuss in this part. Now, what the point of this, though, and here's what's really important to understand. This is all about control right here, because you are going to deal with high D personalities, and you're going to deal with some people that are high I's that are just going to want to go on down these rabbit holes and talk about a bunch of things that are irrelevant. A great salesperson has to maintain control. So what we teach our salespeople here at Coach is no matter what the customer says to you, it doesn't matter what they say. They can say, I'm not interested. They can say, I can't afford it. They can say, I already have this taken care of. Or they can say, hey, I don't feel like talking to you. The response is so simple. Hey, Coach, thank you so much for sharing that with me. This is just an informational call, and pivot right back to your presentation. That's all you do.
Yep.
And the reason why you do that is because you have to remain in control. Because a person, when they make a statement like that in the first 2 minutes, most of the time that's just bioreluctance. It's all that is. They're just reluctant. The same when you go to a car dealership and the sales guy walks up to you and you say, I'm just looking.
Right.
Say that because we naturally push people away.
Yes.
Now, this person may truly not be interested. This person may truly not be able to afford it. This person may truly not even be able to be a decision maker in the process. But that moment is not the time to discuss it. You discuss it after you disarm them. Yes. Now, the next part is where we disarm them by building true intimate connection with them through rapport building, finding out their situation. Then at that point, we strategically overcome whatever it is that they've told us as to why they didn't want to move forward with us. But we do it on our time, not their time, because their time they're guarded, our time they're more vulnerable. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now let's give the viewer, this is good deep stuff here. How would you teach your agents to build this deep connection? I know I build a lot of connection by being vulnerable. I may build connection by saying, I understand, how do you teach the agents to build an intimate connection at that part of the sale?
So this is tough because you can't script this out, right? But scripting is so important. You have to have a script. So as we grow our organization, we realize that everything we have to do has to be systematic. So the question is, how do you systematically build rapport? So we came up with what's called the 3-in-1 method. And it's where you ask the customer 3 questions that are all relevant to each other. So for example, if I said, wow, Coach, I know that you're in Tennessee. It's a beautiful part of the country. How long have you lived in Tennessee for? That's question 1. You'll answer the question, and then I'm going to ask you 2 follow-up questions that piggyback on question 1. Then after you do that, you never ask more than 3 because then it becomes an interrogation. Yep. Then when you get to after you have 3 questions, you then answer every question that you just asked them about yourself. So I would say, Coach, I actually live here in Missouri. I've lived in Missouri now for close to 10 years, and I moved here from Ohio back in 2012. And the reason why I moved was because of my job. My job brought me here. Mm-hmm. And then I've answered the 3 questions. And then what I do after this is I'm going to share information from them, I'm going to answer the first question of the next question I'm going to ask them. And I'm going to say something like this. Now, I'm so glad that I moved here to Missouri because I actually met my wife, Karen, here in Missouri, and we got married in 2015. How about you, Coach? Are you married?
Right. Yep.
And then now I'm going to piggyback up with the last thing that I said. Because once you share that information to you, you create an obligation to the other person that they have to answer your questions.
Nice.
If you don't share about yourself, then you're going to get responses like, well, can we just move on with this? Why is this relevant? Do you really care? And you're going to find reasons of why they don't want to talk to you.
Right. Nice. Okay. So now I've got intimate connection, right? You've disarmed through connection. You've built intimate connection. And then what point, and how long is this typically into the sales call for your people?
This is about at the 2-minute mark we start this process.
Okay. Now this is
the
important.
key, though, the key is here, Coach, is not to just aimlessly talk. The key here is to talk about things that are going to assist you in making the sale.
Right. And there's a time frame. So all of you out there watching, you know, we're coaching now door-to-door salespeople. We're coaching, you know, all kinds of people selling insurance and everything. So it's important that there's a rhythm and a time frame that they're operating from here. They don't stay in this period of rapport building for long periods of time. They've got to transition to the next step of the sale. Okay. And too many people are not systematic about it, right? That's why I like to take something complicated and make it simple. Step one, do this. Step two, do this. Step three, do this. Now, when do you, once you move into the part of the sales cycle here, after you've built the intimacy, what's next?
So every time you transition from a subject or from a part of the script to another part of the script. So we're transitioning from rapport now to qualifying this customer to see what they qualify for, or what the best option is for them. We always use assumptive selling. We call it assumptive selling. The sales industry calls it trial closes, just so we can start dropping bait. Because now I want to see, what is your objections to what I'm about to tell you? So I want to know right now, you want to talk to your wife? Are you worried about affordability? Are you don't think this product's going to benefit you? Do you feel like the value is not there? Whatever it is. Now, again, I'm not going to address what you're saying with me. I'm just taking the information and I'm seeing your cards, so I know how to play my cards. That's all I'm doing here. So you'll tell me something like, yeah, hey, Tony, I just want to make sure I talk to my wife before I do anything today. Absolutely, Coach, not a problem at all. We want you to talk to your wife as well. Boom, move on. Now, I know my next section, I got to start bringing this back up, and I got to strategically start overcoming this concern, because once I give out the money, I've lost all my leverage. I still hold the leverage at this point because I have something that you want, but I haven't given you what you want yet, and what you want is the price.
Right.
But when I give you the price, I need you to say yes to me when I get the price.
Right.
That make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now at this part, I qualify the prospect. And in life insurance, it's easy because it's all health related, right? And it's so easy to build rapport around health. But if you're selling a coaching package like you, at this point, you would just find out some more information about their business. And you still would want to build rapport at this point about their business and finding out that what would be the best option for them. You're digging for the solution. You're looking for all their symptoms, so you can prescribe the solution for whatever their symptoms are at this point here.
Yes. Yeah. You're locating a problem and you're offering and then you're going to come back and offer a compelling solution. But you haven't given so everybody knows you haven't given the price yet, right?
I haven't given the price yet.
Okay. So because there's a lot of theory, some people say to lead with the price. So let's see. You know, I called a guy the other day about a speaking engagement, and right out of the gate, he said, first thing, he said, hey, here's how much it cost.
You know, Coach, you said something to me earlier before this call started. We were talking about an individual, a webinar you did earlier today, and the comment you made to me is, you know, when you're making $3, $4, $5, $6 million a year, it's easy just to tell somebody, hey, this is what I have, take it or leave it. Most people, unfortunately, are not in that situation. And I'm going to tell you something about telesales. Because I know this, you've experienced it more than anybody else.
Yep.
It's easy to press this button right here on the phone and not answer a call.
That's right.
When I got someone on the phone, I'm not letting them off the hook. Right. Like you're either gonna buy, die, or don't qualify. You know what I'm saying? That's all that's gonna happen here. Because I'm gonna keep you on for as long as I can to get you to make this decision. And sometimes, Coach, that decision is no. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you telling me no. Yep. But as a salesperson, what I'm not okay with is everything between the no and the yes. Let me think about it. Let me talk to my wife about it. Let me pray about it. Let me sleep on it. Let me shop around. That's when I start getting problems.
Right.
So We can live with the no. We can live with the yes, but we don't want to live with anything in between.
I think we found the title of your book, Buy, Die, or You Don't Qualify. Could be a good country music song too. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, so you're coming down, and this could take in your world, literally, I mean, you're in the ring, right? Like that's really the point you're making is I got you on the phone. I've worked hard to get you on the phone, right? We've spent marketing dollars. You've answered. We've gone through the rapport building. Like we're not just going to roll over and give up here. We're going to get in there and fight. And that's where the prey drive activates, because it's like, we're going for the kill right now. At what point is when you come down the home stretch after you do that? Cause your sale could take as much as an hour, right? Average sale about an hour.
About an hour. Yeah.
Okay. About an hour. So, I mean, you're in there, you're in the ring going back and forth and back and forth. And then comes the moment of truth, right? And the moment of truth is, Tony, have you seen, what do you say? Have you seen enough to make a decision? Is there anything that prohibits you from taking action? Right? If I could do it for you, what would stop you? Like, what's the close?
The close is, here's what it is, Coach. We got 1, 2, and 3. Tell me which one you want to go with.
Yeah, it's good.
So it is. We just ask them. Now you gotta understand though. About 6 times before we get to that point, we're dropping bait here. We're dropping bait and we're saying, hey, listen, Coach, I can see, and I'm going to talk about your coaching program for a second. Mm-hmm. I can see some needs that you have in your business. And as long as this is a good fit for both parties, we're going to make sure that we find a coaching program that's going to fit all of your needs. And we're going to find something you can take advantage of today. Okay.
Yep.
And now they may say, well, I got to my business partner. Well, now you know the objection. I don't want the objection at the end. I want to handle it on a time where the customer's more vulnerable, because the moment you talk about money, the customer's guarded. I called, Cardone preaches, give the money up front, and it's worked for him, and that's great. And I talked to one of his sales guys before, and he said, right up front, I want to let you know, here's what it costs. And he lost me already. Because I was already guarded. Like my guard was already up.
Right.
And they never broke that guard from me. I didn't do business with them. Right. And we joined you instead. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Now, let me ask you a question, because there's a lot of theory. This past weekend I was reading Robert Cialdini, who wrote Persuasion and Influence. And he talks about seeding and where basically you kind of ask questions to get a yes. Tony, would you consider yourself to be an open-minded person? Would you consider yourself to be adventurous? Would you say that you're hungry to grow to another level? Those are questions I would ask a person, right? If I was trying to get them into a coaching program. Then they say yes, yes, yes. Russell Brunson's a big believer in getting them to say yes 3 times if you see him speak. But then Cialdini talks about even implanting a concept of where you say a price that's much higher. Now, Tony, on a normal day, this would be $10,000, right? Or you're probably thinking this is going to cost you $10,000. But here's the deal. You can get this for this, right? What's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts about saying a price up here and then they go, well, I can never do that. Then they get it down here because, our basic coaching program, Monster Producer, has been, we market test the pricing, right? Like we've had it at $5,000, $399 a month. We've had it right now. It's at, $1997 a month. Sometimes I say this program is typically $5,000 a year, but right now the price point is $1997. And some people go, oh, $1997. After I said it was $5,000, then I say $1997. They go, oh, and I said, if I could put that in payments for you, would it work? And they thought, man, I thought it was going to be a lot more expensive than that. I routinely get that. So what are your thoughts about that?
No, that's anchor pricing. We do something very similar to that.
Yeah.
When we quote our customers, now you got to keep in mind, we sell final expense life insurance. So we're selling to people that are living on Social Security or disability or other fixed or limited incomes. Our first quote we give them is a really high price by design or by intention. Not because we believe they're going to pick that price. Right. It's only because when you put $150 a month to a person only making $800 a month, next to a plan that says $60 a month, $60 a month feels a lot more affordable.
Right.
So we use anchor pricing to get them to see that. And it's very similar with you. I'll also tell you in that same token, Chris Voss, a guy that you did an interview with, fantastic book, Never Split the Difference, talks about that when you go over pricing, and again, in your business, you can do this, life insurance, we don't make the prices up. But he says, throw out a price that's not ever an even number. Say the coaching program is $25,328 because it makes people feel like it's so much more calculated,
right,
and really specific for a reason and not just a number that you just made up out of nowhere.
Right. That's good. That's good. Now, when you think about objections, and everybody, most people get the same objections, right? Timing, money, right? You got to talk to my husband, got to talk to my wife, got to sleep on it, got to think about it. I mean, most of the objections are the same no matter what business. What do you teach your agents to do when they get objection? Because I know a lot of people use formulas. I'm a challenger by nature, so I listen and go through a formula. I understand. I try to isolate, say, Tony, is there any other reason outside of this one reason that's keeping you from moving forward? Yeah, I try to validate the objection. If I could show you why this is actually the best time, and then, but I'm a challenger. Okay. And I realize this doesn't work with everybody, but I may come back and say, now, Tony, you called me for a reason, right? We're on the phone for a reason. You need what it is we have, right? You didn't call me in to make excuses why you're not doing it. You didn't call me to give me a bunch of excuses. You called me because you wanted to coach. You called me because you want to play at a higher level. Now, Tony, we can have this talk today, or we can have it 6 months from today, brother. But nothing's going to change until you change it. Like, you don't have the information you need to play at a higher level. That's why you need me. What's your thoughts on overcoming objection? What's your thoughts? Do you challenge people like that? Because some people don't like that method because they think it's a little too aggressive.
Well, the first part is you have to understand that there's only one reason. There's not 5. There's not 6. There's only one reason why someone is not buying from you. Mm-hmm. And the most dangerous objection, the hardest objection to ever overcome, is the one that the customer is thinking but not telling you.
Yeah.
And so your responsibility is, first of all, are you even overcoming the right objection?
Right.
And so before you fight objections, you have to be able to just decide is what's the reason here. Now, the first thing is you've already spent X amount of time with the customer, hopefully influencing them up to the decision. And so if you've done a good job from point A all the way to Y, and then now you're at Z at this point, you have to assume that the objection more than likely boils down to money. It's usually what it is. Because even when it's a spousal objection, it's not typically, I want my wife's permission if I should get coached by Coach Burt. It's, I want my wife's permission if I could spend $25,000 a year to get coached by Coach Burt.
Right.
And so you have to, and we do it very simple. We say, hey, Coach, I appreciate you sharing that with me because, again, we got to be agreeable here. Can't be confrontational. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Just to help clarify my thinking here for just a moment, just so we can better understand, what's your biggest concern? Just hear them out. What do they say?
Right.
Well, I want to talk to my spouse. Hey, thanks for sharing with me. Completely understand that. Just to help me clarify here for just a moment here, what exactly is it you want to talk to your spouse about?
Right.
And I'm just drilling down because I need to get as specific as I possibly can, because if I can get down to specifics, more than likely it's going to boil down to money.
Right.
If it boils down to money, let's figure this out. If it's just money, let's figure it out. Maybe the money is, let's start you off with the Monster Academy initially and work your way to the coaching program. Maybe let's go with that $60 option right now.
Yep.
And then in 3-4 months, when your finances change a little bit, or you get that government stimulus check, then we can get you up to that $100 a month plan, life insurance plan. But we got to find out what's the reason. There's only one reason. And more times than not, it really does boil down to money.
Yeah, and I think, people have a hard time making a decision. And I think a good salesperson, what they have is uncertainty, right? And I like to say there's 2 reasons a person doesn't take action: fear and uncertainty. Fear is an emotion created by a belief that something's going to harm me in the future. Fear creates vacillation, doubt, insecurity. So the question becomes, what overcomes fear? Well, typically information. When you have more information, right? Like, you don't have enough information to make this decision. And I think I was on the phone with the guy this week, and he immediately just said, man, I can't afford it. And I said, well, you don't even know how much it costs. And I told him, I said, in this conversation, I've heard you say, unfortunately, I don't think this will work. I tried that in the past. I said, in less than 5 minutes, you've had at least 5 considerations. And consideration is an internal thought that prohibits an external action. I said, were you aware that that's the language you're using? Like, these are negative considerations. It won't work. Unfortunately, I don't have the money. Like I can't help you with that. Like, you need help. You need a coach, because your mindset, the word tracks you're using is all wrong, man. You're telling yourself something won't work before you even know. And so I think a good salesperson gets in the ring and fights for their product and service, right? Like, they don't just get in there and, like, I see so many people that, man, I'm like, get in there and fight for your product. Like, did you have a revelation? Do you have conviction? Are you willing to take action? Like, if you're just going to roll over when a person says one thing, like, you're not really a salesperson, right?
No, well, I believe conviction and confidence can be borrowed. And so a lot of times when people object, I mean, I told you there's only one reason. It's not necessarily always money. That one reason could just be, I'm afraid. Like you just said, it's fear. And I need to borrow a little bit of confidence from you to tell you it's going to be okay. And sometimes, Coach, the way they handle that is, let me tell you something. I'm not going to let you fail. Go grab your MasterCard. Let me know when you're ready.
That's right.
That's all it is. Just that borrowing of confidence of it's going to be okay.
Yeah, the moment. It's a moment of truth. And I talk a lot about this in my book, $1 Million Follow-Up, is there's phrases I use. I can't help you till you commit. But once you commit, I'm not going to let you fail. I say we lose 10% of momentum every day we don't take action. And if you've ever been on the wrong side of momentum, right? And when it's selling a product like you have, I would firmly believe and say, listen, I believe insurance is not a nice to have. It's a must have. I would have that much conviction to push a person and say, this is not, there's a lot of things in life you can do without. The insurance is not one of them. Okay. And so I want to encourage the people on here. We've got lots of comments because we're on Facebook Live. And, a lot of guys are on here talking about this. And I just think the other day a person said to me, Tony, that, the timing's not right or this was a guy who was worried about losing his job and it was uncertainty in his life. And I said, I can understand why you would feel that way. Okay. But I wouldn't be doing my job as one of the top coaches in the country if I didn't make an argument for the timing being the exact time that you need a coach in your life. Right. I wrote a book on confidence. I've turned confidence into a science. I know how to build, maintain, and protect a person's confidence. I've spent 28 years of my life doing this. Like there's nobody you want in your corner right now more than me. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say that to you. And he's like, well, you're right. I agree. I do need you on my side. So I say, do you think your life would be better off with me in it or worse off during this period? Right. Like I get in there and fight for what I believe. And so I just think, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I see so many people in sales that won't do that. They don't get in there and fight for their product. They get an objection, they roll over and they quit and they say, hey, they gave me a money objection. All right, I love this. I love calling prospects that people tell me are not good prospects or they put lost in the CRM. And the next thing you know, I sell them a $25,000 coaching package. Yeah. Now, what happened? I thought they were I thought they weren't a good prospect. I thought they were a lost prospect. I didn't think they had any money.
No, you're exactly right. And when you believe in something, like if you're not willing to fight for what you're selling the wrong product.
Yeah.
Because when you believe in something so much, you just can't bend over and fold when resistance happens. You have to continuously push forward during those times. And it's no different. But I think, Coach, that the reason why people do that is, and they're going to say, well, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I think the reason why people do that is because they're afraid of their feelings being hurt. Right. They're trying to protect themselves. By nature, we're selfish. That's and right. So by me not fighting for you, I'm afraid what you're going to say to me and you're going to hurt my feelings. So I'm going to fold now. And we got to be braver than that. We got to be more courageous than that.
That's right.
Just fold that quick.
And the conditioning, the conditioning that I'm seeing in people, what I've been talking about a lot is conditioning. People are conditioned very early in life. And what we're seeing now is people that were not very well conditioned to be tough, to fight through, to show up every day. We're seeing that that's really hurting people. So if you got kids, right, you want to condition them to be tough in a modern society. Now, let's finish up by talking about business models, because I really believe right now what the market is teaching us, there's always a correction. Whether it be a virus or whether it be something, there's a correction in markets. And what it does is weed out people that don't have healthy immune systems for their business, right? And a healthy immune system is you're working a selling system. You follow up, you do what you're supposed to do. That builds a healthy immune system in your business. Let's talk about business models for a second, because I think right now what it's teaching us is that you need a business model that is strong. You need a business model that can withstand a recession. You need a business model that can withstand tough times, right? And I guess going from individual insurance guys to building a company, a lot of people will never take that risk, right? They'd say, man, I'll just stay small, keep more money, whatever the case may be. They'll never build out this big thing. At what moment did you guys say that I'm going to build out an enterprise? Or did it just happen organically? Just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it started small and then it got big.
I think, and this is an interesting question, Coach, because I want to first take a step back. Mm-hmm. everyone should have an awakening at this time of where our country is at, because your current situation, what's your quote you always say, Coach? What summer or spring's going to ask what you did all.
Yeah, there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer.
That's right. And right now we're in winter. And what did you do during spring and summer? And for a lot of people, when times go right in our life, a lot of us cruise.
Yep.
When times go right, this is when you should be doing more.
Yep.
You should be doing more during the good times, so when the bad times come, you can withstand the storm.
Yep.
And that's why there's going to be a lot of companies in America that are going to run out of business, and there's going to be a lot of other companies that may take some losses, but after it's all said and done, they're going to rebound and bounce right back to where they left off.
Right.
If you're a person that's going to suffer during this time financially, my question for you would be, what did you do during all spring and summer?
Yeah. And
so one thing that was important for us when we built this business was we wanted to build something, a business. Like if someone called me yesterday, Coach, and we were supposed to go to Greece in June for a convention trip, and someone called me and said, no matter what, make sure that you, Ramaz, and Aaron don't go on the same plane together. Make sure you guys fly separate in case God forbid something happened. And my response to them was, we've built something here that this company doesn't survive on us. We don't even do anything. Right. It runs itself now because that's what a business is.
Right.
And so what was important to me was to be able to have something that made money while I was asleep. Yep. Something that ran that I didn't have to be there for. And now you put in a lot of time to get to that point, but for those people that are in sales and are just an independent insurance agent, my question for you is, if God forbid something happened to you, let's just say, God forbid, you couldn't walk anymore and couldn't go door to door anymore. God forbid, you lost your voice, couldn't talk on the phone anymore. You still have something that's working for you.
Yep.
Or you working for it. Yep. And that was the difference for us.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the goal of a lot of people, build something that is not dependent on you, build something that's scalable, something that's sellable, something that's, something that, so you guys have done that. Tony, this has been fun. I think we could go on and on and on.
Yes, we can.
But I appreciate you. I appreciate your expertise. I appreciate what you guys have done to be industry transformers, and love my work with you. Love spending time with you guys. And, I'm inspired by being around you because you and I are very similar thinkers.
Yes.
And, just want to say to all the people that were on the webinar tonight, thank you. All the people that are on Facebook, thank you. I hope it's been a dynamic exchange. And more than anything, got you, stimulated you. Think bigger. Take more action. Work the sales cycle. Right, Tony?
Now for one last thought before we go.
Absolutely.
I was practicing what I'm preaching here. I was in my head was in my Bible last night. I read something and it really, really hit me. And I just feel this is good for a lot of people that are listening, that are working from home. You're going to face so much rejection. You're facing uncertain times. We're facing times that we've never been through before. And worry kicks in, fear kicks in, uncertainty kicks in, a lot of things kick in. And if that kicks into you, that's okay. That makes you normal because we all experience that. We all do. But what I found interesting when I was reading my Bible, it talked about Jesus when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Yep. And the word it used, I actually have it open right here because I was reading it before I was talking to you. It said that Jesus was deeply distressed and troubled. Yep. And I couldn't help but to think of how much we are deeply distressed and troubled as a country right now because of uncertainty. And it says that he was overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death, is the words that he used in the Bible. Yep. And what was interesting was Jesus himself also was fearful. He faced fear. He
Yep.
faced uncertainty. Yep. But what he did, and this is the lesson that I took out of it that I hope everyone else can, was he went back to his power source, which was prayer and God.
Yep.
When you face uncertainty, you need to have a power source of somebody that re-energizes you, recharges your battery, that gets you so pumped back up so you focus back on what your goals and what your mission is. Because I'm going to tell you, we run a large organization. And there are times where I wake up and I just want it to stop. Yep. There are times I wake up, Coach, and I'm like, man, is it worth it?
Yeah. Yeah.
The devil's in my ear. It happens to me.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
It happened to Jesus. It's going to happen to you, Coach. It happens to everyone here. Find a way to recharge yourself.
Well, I think that's a very powerful, great verse to look at. And, I don't know how many fatalities there will be as a result of the coronavirus, but I would tell you the number one killer of people in the United States is stress.
Yep.
It's stress creates worry. Fear creates stress. Stress creates worry. Worry creates dis-ease. And that is a big killer for people in the United States. It's just the disease of stress, right? And so if you're running a small business, we get it. We know it's hard. We know people are fearful. I think what we can do is be a model and say, people, right, we're gonna get in there and fight every day, and go home at the end of the day and say, we did everything we could do. Right? We did everything we could to win, man. And that's what we got to go home at night and say. So Tony, thank you for being a good friend. Thank you for being a good partner. And you did a great job tonight as always, and hope everybody on the webinar got good value, and everybody on the Facebook. And he closed us out with the good book. So I don't think we can end it any better than that.
That's right, Coach. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thanks for those that joined us, and look forward to doing this again soon, Coach.
All right. Yeah, we're going to come back and do some more stuff. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
See you, bud.
Bye-bye.